You're on mute.
All right, it's 4 p.m. Nigerian time. Good, good day to you, ma'am. I trust your day is going on well. Can you hear me properly, please? Can you hear me clearly?
Hello? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah.
All right, all right. Yeah, so we are going to start the session now while
Okay.
the participants join in on this session. I was asking how your day has been.
Oh, it's early here. It hasn't started
Okay.
yet.
Oh, it hasn't started.
Okay.
Right.
It's 9 a.m. where I am.
All right, that's nice.
Okay.
That's nice. Yeah, so I'd like to tell you a few things about PIPI,
Hmm.
the Platform for Innovation and Productive Ideas. So yeah, we an energy research organization preferring workable solutions to societal, humanitarian, and environmental problems. PIPI brings together great minds to prefer solutions to problems using science and technology as a tool. So yeah, at PIPI, we are a non-governmental organization that delves into preferring solutions using science and technology, basically, right? To start this session properly, today's webinar is titled "The Energy Trilemma: Balancing Three Key Dimensions of Energy Policy." This is a timely and globally relevant topic as governments, industries, and communities around the world grapple with the interconnected challenges of energy security, affordability, and sustainability. Energy Trilemma presents no easy answers. It often forces policymakers to make difficult trade-offs between ensuring uninterrupted access to energy, keeping that energy affordable for citizens and businesses, and also pursuing long-term sustainability goals, especially in the face of climate change and global disruptions. We are deeply honored to be joined by a distinguished leader at the forefront of these decisions. Our guest, Madam Secretary Melanie Kenderdine. I hope I got that right. The
That's not.
Cabinet Secretary of, ma'am?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the Cabinet Secretary of Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources for the state of New Mexico. Under the leadership, New Mexico has embarked on an ambitious energy journey. So yes, we are glad to have you here. Thank you for being here, ma'am. You can give your opening introduction. Thank you, ma'am.
Let me just say a little bit more about my background. I have been the Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Secretary in New Mexico for about a year, a little over a year. I had been in Washington, D.C. before that. I worked at the U.S. Department of Energy for the entire Clinton administration, set up and ran the MIT Energy Initiative. And so worked at MIT for 6.5 years, went back to the U.S. Department of Energy when Ernie Moniz became the secretary. He was a professor at MIT. We worked together setting up the MIT Energy Initiative. And at the end of the Obama administration, when Trump came in for his first term, Secretary Moniz and I set up the Energy Futures Initiative, a think tank focused on deep decarbonization of energy systems. In that capacity, we work very closely with Africa 50, and I don't know if you're familiar with them. Africa 50, the CEO is Alana Bobise, and it is a major energy infrastructure investment fund investing in, I think, 26 countries in Africa were members of Africa 50. We did a study for Africa 50 about the use of natural gas in Africa. And so when we rolled out that study, I went to Nairobi, and the finance ministers of the 26 countries that were members of Africa 50 were at the event that where we rolled out our study in Nairobi. And so I have spent a fair amount of time looking at energy issues in Africa, particularly focused on natural gas. And so I just want to give you that background. I've been to 10 countries in Africa. I've been to Nigeria. You're in Nigeria, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. I've been to Abuja. I've never been to Lagos. Have been to Abuja, and but I've been to 10 countries in Africa. I like Nigeria, but Rwanda is my favorite. Okay, so at any rate, I just give you that background because I have a significant interest in energy issues in Africa. I'm also supporting two families in Rwanda and have been since 2018, sending them money every couple of months. So again, Africa is a huge interest to me, both personally and professionally. I would say a couple more things. When we did our study, Africa 50 study of Africa, the rural electrification in many of the countries we looked at was less than 1%. So electrification is I understand, a huge issue, a need in Africa. Getting the infrastructure in place for that is problematic. But also Nigeria is, as you know, a huge oil and gas producer in the world. I think probably number 6 in natural gas, exporting most of that natural gas. The study we did of Africa was how to use natural gas, Africa's natural gas, for Africans. Okay, and so I give all of that background because one, I've spent a huge amount of my professional life obviously focused on energy. I have a very significant interest in Africa. I am now, as you said, the Secretary of Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources for the state of New Mexico, where I grew up. I grew up in New Mexico, then went to Washington, D.C. and Cambridge, Massachusetts, et cetera, but came back to New Mexico when my husband retired. And so that is why I am back in New Mexico. But I just want people to know that I'm in New Mexico now. It's a small state in the United States. but I've had a significant international experience, and that includes energy in Africa. So,
All right. Thank you for sharing that. That's quite insightful, sharing your journey and especially learning about your interest in Africa. That's indeed
mhm.
very wonderful. And that is why PIPI is here. So we are trying to put Africa, Nigeria, on the limelight, bringing in experts on subject matters and us using science and technology, in fact, to, develop the country non-profitably. All right. So, my first question to you, based on your journey and transition across various sectors of the government. Now, the Energy Trilemma often focuses on tough choices, right? So, please, can you share an example of a policy or a project in New Mexico where you've had to prioritize one dimension, talking about security, affordability, or sustainability over the others, and how you manage to do trade-offs?
Well, what we are, New Mexico has very significant uh, goals for renewable energy in our electricity system. And and we have in the US, we have investor owned utilities. They're providing most of the electricity, but we also have rural electric co-ops. And those are small rural cooperatives that provide electricity to members in their regions. And our targets are 100% net zero power generation for our investor-owned utilities by 2045 and net zero for our rural electric co-ops by 2050. So the state has significant goals and requirements on renewable energy and for electricity. And so we are working very hard on that. At the same time, in the state of New Mexico, our industrial electricity prices are 25% lower than the US national average. So, as we are talking about affordability and clean energy, we have to be mindful of our targets on renewable energy, that we don't want to lose businesses and industry because of higher electricity prices. And that could come with renewable energy. So affordability is hugely important as we work on this transition, ensuring that our renewable energy is renewable electricity doesn't cause prices to go up. And I don't know if you have noticed this at Pippi, but in the US, and I read it all the time, that wind and solar power generation are cheaper than natural gas or coal generation. And on a per megawatt hour, a little bit cheaper, but gas and coal does not require battery storage. Wind and solar does. So when you add the cost of the battery storage on top of the wind and solar, it's much more expensive. So we are also looking at developing our geothermal resources. New Mexico at one point was had highly active volcanoes, millions and millions of years ago. And so we do have significant geothermal resources. We are working at developing those resources as well. So we're environmental sustainability, those are the renewable targets, energy security, and energy equity, the affordability is an issue. Okay, as I said, and that takes you into the equity space of the energy trilemma that you are talking about. Energy security is another issue. And that in our world is basically ensuring that the lights stay on and that we have electricity. And so the when actually the and somewhat relevant to Africa, the largest population in the United States that it doesn't have access to electricity is on the Navajo Nation, a large part of which is in New Mexico. So energy access, energy security is a problem there. When we had the huge COVID pandemic worldwide, the kids in New Mexico who didn't have access to electricity couldn't go to school because they couldn't get out, they couldn't get online. So that's kind of our focus. We do have these renewable requirements. What I am doing in the Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department is I am doing a comprehensive energy transition strategy where we are looking at all of these issues, and we will put a strategy together and address the different components of the energy trilemma and make recommendations on policy development, legislative needs, et cetera, by the end of the governor's administration. I work for the governor of New Mexico. Her term ends at the end of 2026. So then we'll have a new governor. So I'm putting that strategy together, and that brings all of the components you described in the energy trilemma, brings them all together in an analytical way as well. So.
All right. Yeah, thank you for that answer. Yes, you have actually you have given a lot of insights into the three legs of the energy trilemma. So yeah, you mentioned your plans as to the Transition Act as a goal of 100% carbon-free electricity in 2045, while for renewable in 2050. So now, how is the state managing the trade-offs between rapid decarbonization and maintaining energy security and affordability?
Well, one thing I would say, and it was a little surprising to me, as I said, I grew up in New Mexico and came back after being gone for 40 years or a little less than 40 years, is that the number one source of power generation in the state of New Mexico is actually wind. Okay, now number two is natural gas. We don't have any coal. We shut down our last coal-fired power plant, and so we don't have any more coal generation. So it's largely wind, natural gas, and some solar. It's a very sunny place, okay, but we don't have a lot of solar generation. And so we are already well on our way. 41% of our power generation in the state of New Mexico is from wind. Okay, but that's a lot of wind generation. But when you're talking 100% in the next 20 years, that's not very long. So we're going to have to do a lot of work to bring solar power online in the state of New Mexico, where we do, as I said, we have a lot of sun, but our renewable resources, our sun, our wind, and our geothermal are in kind of remote locations. You need to build the infrastructure, the transmission lines, et cetera, to bring that power generation onto the grid. So that's going to require a lot of investment. Keeping it affordable is, as you mentioned, it's going to be a huge issue for us. New Mexico is a very, very poor state. Just so you all know, New Mexico is the only majority state in the United States. It has a very significant Hispanic population and a very significant Native American population. So those two groups are a majority of the population, but it also is a poor state. So the affordability issue that you mentioned is very, very important. And as we are building out our renewables, I think that natural gas as backup generation, as opposed to batteries, will be very helpful in keeping our electricity price affordable. Just so you know, New Mexico is number 2 in the country of the 50 states in the United States. New Mexico is number 2 in oil production. We are number 4 in gas production. So we're a little like Nigeria in that way. A lot of oil, a lot of gas. But again, we also have wind resources and solar resources. And the policy strategy that I am putting together, the comprehensive energy strategy, will focus on how we keep these electricity costs affordable while we transition to meet our laws. And it's not going to be easy. Okay, I will not tell any fairy stories. It's going to be difficult because again, the cost of battery storage is very, very expensive, adding to the cost of wind and solar. So that's a problem. Geothermal, which we have resources that we need to develop, doesn't require battery storage either. So how we pull all those things together to meet our targets and keep energy affordable is a huge part of what I'm focused on and a part of the strategy that we are developing.
Yes, thank you for that. Now, you've mentioned the similarities between Nigeria and New Mexico having a lot of oil and gas exploration activities, yet there's still some, deficit as to the energy provision. So, how would you advise Nigeria learn from the activities going on in New Mexico?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. I'm having a tough time hearing you. Can you
Can you
turn
hear
up,
me?
speak louder, yell at me? Okay.
All right, is it better now?
Better. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. So I said you mentioned the oil and gas activities, exploration and production
Right.
going on in New Mexico, and how it's number 2 and number 4 in the US. So I'm trying to compare the similarities that you have mentioned between New Mexico and Nigeria as a
Right.
country. So now, how would you say Nigeria adapt some, strategies based on the implementations going on already in New Mexico?
Let, let me say a couple things, and the but a couple other things that I don't think people are cognizant of or pay a lot of attention to. And that is the need for high temperature heat for industrial processes. You want to build out solar panels, you need glass. In the United States, I don't know what the numbers are in Nigeria, but in the United States, 87% of the energy to get the heat you need to make glass for solar panels is natural gas. And that doesn't include the electricity. Yes, 80, I'm sorry, 87% is natural gas. For wind turbine blades, okay, you want to put in wind. I don't know what the wind quality is in Nigeria. I suspect you've got a lot of good coastal wind in Nigeria, but to make a wind turbine blade, which is made from oil, by the way, resin is oil, okay, so to make a wind turbine blade, you need 2,800 degrees centigrade. You only get that from a fuel. You cannot get that. You can get right now, you can get about 400 degrees from electricity. They're working on technologies to get you 1,000 degrees, but again, you need 2,800 degrees to make a wind turbine blade. You need 2,300 degrees to make glass for those solar panels. So I think that a huge use of natural gas in Nigeria, US, and other parts of the world should be for industrial heat. Okay. And so if you can electrify your rural areas with solar panels, et cetera, I think that that's very important. But you need to be mindful of the oil and gas that you need for the heat you need to make those solar panels. And so I think that that's a hugely important use of fossil fuels that people are not paying enough attention to. We always focus on electricity. Okay, and the iron and steel you need for transmission lines and for wind turbine towers, all of that requires a huge amount of heat, and we need the fossil energy to make those products. And I think part of Nigeria's focus, because you do have abundant
Just calm
oil
down.
and gas,
Just calm down. No.
could be industrial uses of your natural gas and oil to get the heat that you need for many of these products.
All right. Actually, yeah. So last month we brought in a company, Falcon Incorporation Limited. So what they are doing is also in exploring natural gas, and there we mentioned
Exploring what? I'm sorry, exploring
natural
what?
gas, natural
Okay,
gas.
yeah, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Uh-huh.
So how we can also work, use natural gas to build up all these things that you have mentioned. Yeah. So I mean, as much as we are trying to focus on carbon emission reduction,
Right,
we still have some facilities that we need the fossil fuels to build.
right,
Yeah. So
right.
yeah, I was going to ask, can green hydrogen, battery storage, and small modular reactors truly deliver on these three dimensions of the energy trilemma?
See, I actually think that small modular reactors could be very, very important in the clean energy transition. Okay, zero emissions and you can build a small modular reactor, 100 megawatts. You can build it on site to power a data center or to power to provide the electricity you need for some of these industrial processes. Okay, so I think small modular reactors are hugely important. I do not know what Nigeria has by way of enrichment, uranium enrichment. I don't believe you have enrichment capacity. U.S. has very little enrichment capacity too. We have been, up until a few years ago, importing a lot of our enriched uranium from Russia. Okay, which that's not, yes, and so we've got to speed up our enrichment development as well. But you need enrichment capacity or getting enriched uranium in supply chains from somewhere. And also you need to be able to you still need to be able to manage the nuclear waste from a small modular reactor. So that's an issue. Okay, it has a lot of benefits, but all of these things have benefits but associated issues and problems. Something that you do have, you talked about batteries, that you do have in Africa, not in Nigeria, but in the DRC. 75% of the world's cobalt resources in the world are in the DRC. Okay, and cobalt is an essential ingredient component of a battery. So that's a good thing. Developing those relationships and the cobalt trade with the DRC DRC. I don't know if Nigeria has any cobalt. I just know what I've read, that it's in the DRC. But
Okay.
that's an important component that could be a trade issue. Another critical component, lithium. Okay, much of the world's lithium is in South America, so that's an issue. And the third major component is nickel. And nickel, most of the nickel in the world is in Indonesia. So if you want to build batteries or use batteries in Nigeria, you need to be thinking about those trade relationships, okay, and what can be done. SMRs, enriched uranium, is
Right.
an issue, and disposal of waste is an issue.
Okay.
But I
I
do
have,
think,
yeah, I
I'm
have,
sorry.
because of our time, we have about few minutes to the end of this session. If anyone has a
Mhm.
question, you can type through the chat box. Also, you mentioned you personally you like Africa a lot. So, I mean, our organization supports families dealing with suicidal loss, hunger, and poverty. I was wondering if there is if it's possible for you to donate to support to our cause for future projects while we are implementing our technologies and activities in the rural areas in Nigeria.
Oh, I can't make commitments of state funds for anything without a
Right,
whole a huge
right,
process.
right.
Okay. I have met with a group of African representatives. Okay, came into my office a couple months ago. I assume that's how this discussion came about. And I am very, very interested in Africa, as I said, and if there's a project that is if you have a resource that we have and we have a resource that you have, is there potential for bilateral trade and relationships? I would be very interested in exploring that. I do not. I worked for the Clinton and Obama administration, so obviously I am a Democrat. The current president is a Republican. I can't, I can't, I can't speak for what they will be doing vis-a-vis Africa. One thing I would say, and I mentioned the critical minerals, okay, the cobalt, the lithium, et cetera, et cetera. New Mexico has a lot of those critical minerals. And the Trump administration is focused on producing those, so there may be an opportunity there. And New Mexico, as I said, we are the fourth largest marketed gas producer in the U.S., and we export 9 times more natural gas than we consume. So working with you all on those kinds of issues, I think, would be helpful too. So.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So yes, we have about 3 minutes to the end of this session.
Right. Right.
I cannot see any question in the chat box. So in the absence of no question,
Somebody has a hand up. Mayor Sunday. I see it. Oh, I don't know. Or
nah, it's
or
gone.
Suleiman. I can't tell which hand it is, Suleiman or Mayor. Okay, but no questions.
No questions. So yes,
Okay.
ma'am, to round up, we have about 2 minutes to the end of this session. We sincerely appreciate you giving us a few minutes of
In an
your
early morning, okay, on a
right.
Saturday. I will
Yeah.
I will tell you one story, my time in Abuja. Okay, and I came to Abuja when Bill Richardson was the Secretary of Energy. He's from New Mexico too. I actually started out working for Bill in Washington, D.C., and married his best friend from college. But we had he was a Secretary of Energy, and we met with the president of Nigeria, blah blah blah, and we had a convoy of limousines, and my limousine driver lost the convoy. he missed a light or something and lost the convoy, and was speeding, desperately trying to catch back up with our group. And I saw parts of Abuja I can guarantee you most Americans have never seen. We were driving, trying to catch back up to our limousine chain, and so I had a very interesting, besides meeting with the president and talking about energy policies and oil and gas production, et cetera, et cetera. I did see interesting parts of Abuja. So.
Right. We would like to host Secretary Monet after this session. Would you be so kind to help us out in the invitation to him, to bring him on this platform to share some other policies with us?
I'm sorry, what?
I said we would like to host Secretary Monet, you mentioned earlier, in
Right.
another webinar series. So would you be so kind to help us in this invitation process?
Muted. It says I'm muted. I'd be happy to talk to him and see if he's interested. So, okay.
All right. Yes.
All right.
We'll follow up via email. So thank you everyone for
All right.
joining this.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.